A lot of antagonistic kind of behavior that we might have expected between males during the breeding season, but we also saw that kind of interaction among females as well.
And a rare vision that roams North American woods.
It stood for 5 seconds maybe, eyed me, and took off and was gone.
For 3 million years, they've roamed the woodlands. And we're still just trying to figure them out. The white-tailed deer.
Believe it or not, we're right near a major road, but there's a big buck right over here, so I'm gonna get my little outfit out and see if he'll put up with me.
Cameraman Mark Emery has been filming whitetail for the past decade, tracking them through forests and meadows. He knows that, familiar as they are, still the whitetail keep their distance. Every time Mark films them, he gets a first-hand glimpse of their jittery grace.
I've been coming in this area for about 2 weeks now, just sitting with these guys. And we sat here about 20, 30 minutes before they came up to eat grass right in here. And as long as you make your movements very slow and take your time, they'll stay around for a while. And you do something a little goofy, boom, they'll take off.
For Mark, it's a familiar pattern when man meets deer. The quick head jerk. The skittish movement. The gaze into the distance. All the senses are at work. Surprisingly, the deer aren't seeing much of anything at all. Nearly blind by human standards, deer have trouble seeing defined shapes. All they can really make out is movement. To compensate, they've developed their other senses. Their hearing is finely tuned, and their remarkable sense of smell can pick out odors hundreds of yards away. The nose of the white-tailed deer has nearly 300 million olfactory receptors, compared to just 5 million for humans. That's more than even the legendary bloodhound. And when a deer smells danger, it passes that information on, as Mark notices every time he gets too close.
When filming, I'll see them stomp. They'll do that to get the attention of other deer, to alert them that something might be dangerous.
The white tail for which they are named is not just decorative. It's a key feature for communication.
I've seen the tail come up slowly, as though the deer is saying, I see something I don't really care for. And then you get this nervous twitching.
When the tail goes up, it's a signal for all around. A white flag saying time to retreat. White-tailed deer may seem elusive, secretive, but there's a reason. They live on the boundaries, the borderlands, making a home for themselves in the places between worlds, the spaces between the wilderness and the man-made. It's the habitat known as the edge, where farms meet the forest and backyards meet the backwoods. Ironically, the human clearing that might harm other species or deprive them of living space works the exact opposite way for the adaptable deer. It allows them to succeed, even thrive. Some say they may be doing too well. Just a century ago, there were less than 1 million deer in North America. Today, there are nearly 30 million. No wonder it seems they're moving in right down the block. Nowhere are the deer more at home than next door, in the suburbs.
We as humans have created pretty much the perfect habitat for deer. These are areas that have a wide diversity of plants that deer can eat versus, say, a rural forest.
One town that knows all too well about the deer, Cayuga Heights, New York.
We know that in Cayuga Heights, in general, we have about 100 deer per square mile. What we need is far less than 100 per square mile, probably more like square mile.
With no predators and unlimited food, this is the perfect home for animals that spend most of their lives in an area of just 1 square mile. That's why residents see the same deer family year after year.
They walk through my yard and eat everything here.
It's almost like watching them come into a buffet.
I'll pull up into the driveway and see 8 to 10 deer, and they kind of look at me like, hey, welcome home.
So there's some deer up here in the yard, and we're going to go try and get them on film.
We gave cameras to a number of Cayuga homeowners over a 3-month period to capture the behaviors they see every day. The goal? To gain a new understanding of wild deer's actions in the suburban world.
Well, good morning. I think this one's a little timid.
The first places the deer show up? Anywhere there's something edible. What makes the whitetail such a challenge to backyard gardeners is they eat almost anything. Nearly 600 different species of plants, grasses, acorns, fruits. In times of scarcity, they will consume twigs and bark, even poison ivy. Incredibly, they've also been spotted eating nestling songbirds. And very little deters them.
We're in the backyard, on the side. The fence is 6 feet high, and they have jumped over it, which amazed us.
As you can see, we had to install this fence to keep the deer out of our yard. This is a 6-foot fence, which actually is somewhat inadequate.
White-tailed deer will jump in the wild. They use this technique to evade predators and to just overcome an obstacle that's in their way.
We had to build a really tall fence because deer were continuously jumping over it.
Deer can jump over a 8-foot obstacle. Sometimes from a running start, they can clear a bit more than that.
It's no wonder a fence isn't much of a deterrent. The deer need to consume up to 7 pounds of food a day. But these voracious eaters don't have upper front teeth. They chew by pressing their lower incisors against a pad on the upper gum. After these meals, the homeowners captured their first footage of the deer seemingly lazing the day away.
Sunday morning, and there's about 4 deer just bedded down in the backyard.
To the Cayuga Heights cinematographers, it may seem like a siesta, but the deer are actually doing something crucial. They're digesting. Deer are members of the same ungulate family of hoofed mammals as cows and buffalo. Like cows, they have a 4-chambered stomach. They eat quickly. Then later, they cough up food and chew it again. It's a vital part of their eating cycle. And the reason they sometimes seem to hide during the day. Finding cover away from prying eyes, they disappear into the shadows to digest. But they're often a lot closer than you think. The crew decided to reveal the secret of this magic act by shooting a regular high-def camera side by side with one that picks up a thermal imprint. They were able to show where the deer go, a private world that's sometimes right under our noses. A thicket of branches is all it takes to make a deer invisible during the day. Only the slightest movement gives away the animal's position until it emerges again to feed. The hunt for food brings the whitetail into our lives. And right alongside our roadways. But it's not a death wish that brings them here. This is another edge where they actually thrive.
They can be along the side of the road for a number of reasons, but in general, it's about the growth along the edge of the road. What happens is you get more sunlight coming to that area. You'll see all these trees are pushing more branches out, competing for the sunlight along that edge. And you've got fresh growth and all kinds of things. So animals tend to cruise these edges looking for food or nutrition.
Here along the roads, deer are walking a fine line. And that line can be deadly.
In a suburban environment, deer have to cross roads all the time. Deer vehicle collisions comprise most of the mortality in these areas. But evidence of a deer's adaptability is they get to learn cars and what motor vehicles mean. The older deer tend to cross these roads very cautiously.
Right now we're approaching some deer that are about to cross the road. It's early morning and they're out feeding. Deer wanting to cross the road, but we have a school bus coming at the same time. Now the adult doe is coming up to the road, being very careful, pausing, looking both ways. The deer looked to the left, looked our way a bit, and is crossing slowly. The younger deer will likely cross right after her, and they'll just run out in the road. Fawns get into all sorts of trouble, just like human kids. This is a fawn crossing the road, not looking. And there's another fawn crossing. So you saw the care that the adult doe took in crossing the road and how carelessly the younger deer crossed the road.
Fawns and does alike. The survivors learn how to live on this dangerous boundary.